Hey, welcome back. I'm going to do a part 2 to my Alice gear improvement video. I'm going to do a quick review, things I missed, things I lost my train of thought on. And I'm also going to do a compare and contrast video to a molle LBE here. I got a bunch of cats in the way there. Ow. That I kind of set up. See, improve perks, disadvantages. Moving on to a molle LB, or if the Alice is still sufficient and good enough, and so on and so forth, and other musings. Come on, get out of here. Anyways, so jump right in. One, I want to address the comment I had saying that they didn't know these late production mag pouches held PMags, and I just want to make sure that everyone knows who don't know. It's a Unicore. If you look in there, so Unicore is the contractor. There was a plethora of contractors from the 70s to the early to mid 2000s that made Alice gear. That's why you got so many flavors of shades of OD green. These are more of like a foliage green, the late production. That's how you'll know. They also do not have the dividers. They did away with those. Because there are other contractors in the early 2000s, but Unicorn seems to be the dominant one. Another one was, I can't think of the name, but it's a real darker OD green. I have one. I can't find it. They do take the PMags, but these ones seem to be the best because they enlarged the top and did away with those dividers, and that's why, in my opinion, they're the best iteration of the Alice mag pouches. So they're easy to, even with the nags, it's just easier, taking them out and reinserting them. So good thing is they made a lot of these, and the molle was starting to come in, so there's a lot out there. Second thing, in regards to the malice clip upgrade that I was talking about, one thing I forgot to mention, when you insert them into the slots, usually 90% of the time, no problem, they go in. Sometimes, though, a little tight, like it won't go in. I found I was using a pair of scissors, kind of shimmy it in there. I mean, and there's pretty much anything long and flat to help shimmy it in. Usually you'll be able to get it through. But there was one case, on one of the sets I think I sold, I had to stick with the Alice clips because they tapered down here on the stitching, and then the malice clip wouldn't fit no matter what. So just be aware of that. Now in the older mag pouches, like I said, there's a bazillion contractors. Some of the older ones do fit PMags, like that one right here. Problem is, though, since the top is still pretty small, so it's a lot harder to open and close. So I would stick, if you're going to run PMags, to get the newer ones. Even with the Stenags, I would still recommend getting the new ones. But, obviously, these they'll command a little more of a price, usually. If you go on eBay, they'll be more expensive than the older ones, but not by much. So it's all depends on you and your budget. Another thing about the malice clips. The perk I forgot to mention, the ability for it to slide around a little bit if you wanted to. If you leave it on the bottom slot instead of the double slot here. Found that it helps if you're smaller waisted, because the smaller the belt, it's kind of a drawback of the Alice. The less real estate you're going to have, so that gives you the ability to squeeze it in, more stuff on there. Second thing is, if you're in a vehicle, obviously, you sit down in a seat, you can move around stuff a little bit, help make it a little more comfortable. It's probably, no matter what, it's probably going to be uncomfortable, but it might help, that one thing stabbing into your side. Third thing was, if you put your Alice pack on, the belt, sometimes, the way it wants to ride on top of it, you can shift it around, it'll help adjust it till you can find the sweet spot. I'm a Y suspender guy, and I think one of the sets I sold had the H. It ain't bad, but to me, the two on the H suspenders in the back, they kind of drive me nuts in the shoulder blades. And I guess that's why they went to the Y, was that it helps with your shoulder blades, opens them up, if that makes sense. So, and one thing I like when you take the butt pack here and the D-ring here, if you attach Y suspenders, put the buckle here where you would put it if you didn't have a butt pack, and then you run the D-ring in. I found that when you put the Alice pack on, the meat hook effect isn't there. And I found that it's more stable and more comfortable that way. And it really doesn't affect it sags a little bit on the butt pack, but it still supports it enough to where it's pretty much just right. So if you're a guy like me who doesn't likes to leave things stock for the most part, you know, like I don't like to remove the buckles because I like permanent things. It's my OCD, I guess. You know, that's a good option. If not, you can always, again, replace them with slide glides and attach it to the D-ring with a slide glide. Pretty much it on the, if I forgot, I think I pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much it for the Alice. Now, I've always liked the Alice. I was a kid in the 90s and the early 2000s, and everything was either Alice or they more like vests. Like I think the British got one. The South American, they had a tan vest. It's kind of like that thing that Molly came along, like in the early 2000s. I use this, paintball and then airsoft, and then when I enlisted, we use this in basic and AIT. I always liked it. We used it over body armor. It was the IBAs or interceptors, and I always liked it. We got issued it when I got to my unit, but we never used it. Everything was going to Molly. So always had a thing for it. So that's probably, part of it's nostalgia, part of it just still works and it's cheap. Excuse me, had a little bit of whiskey. But the price is still right on this stuff. And that's what I want to say about the Molly. A lot of people go, oh, you can get a lot of used old Molly out there. It's an upgrade, but it's just as, the Alice has gone up. I'm like, it really hasn't. Because when I put this together, it was about $200, around there. Where this, I think, the newer pouches, I think they were like $30 for 3 of the Alice. And the new, it was around $30. I think I got the belt and suspenders. They were like brand new. I think it was like $25 shipped. I found it. And then the butt pack, is my last one. I think it was like $35. Now these are hard to find. You got to keep an eye on eBay, or your local surplus. If you're lucky enough to have a surplus store that actually has surplus, not just Chinese crap and stickers and whatnot. But canteens, I think Allegheny Surplus has them like two shipped. You get 2 covers shipped for like $8. So it costs about half that. Actually it might have been a little more now I think about it, because some of the stuff I already had for both of them. Like obviously the bayonet, you can go back and forth, but for like 2 canteens, butt pack, and mag pouches, belt and suspenders, I'm talking about. So that's right there, I guess, number 1 on the perk, is that Alice is still cheaper, regardless of what other people say. If you don't have to have the butt pack, I mean, you can find 2 mags, canteen, and, belt and suspenders for, if you shop around, $50, even less sometimes. Depending on, again, if you're satisfied, you run the nags, and you get one of these work perfectly fine. This one's got a tear. It does the job, So... But I always, I do like Molly, though. It's nothing against Molly. I always like, I try to do a, belt kit. Molly, like Alice, and it just, one of the drawbacks I found, that it seems like no matter what, the PALs, you have to use it. You usually have to use it, If it's 3 slots, you got to use 3 slots, So there's an exception, though. It was right here. Basically, the base of this is the Eagle Industries stuff from the SFLCS, I believe it was called, in the early to mid to late 2000s in the GWAT. and most of it was in khaki. See right there. And I do like the belt. I think it's for the molle belt. It's probably one of the better ones. It's the version 1 Eagle Industries war belt. And I just like it because it's rectangular, has just enough padding to give you something, but it's not overdone, you know. Some things are like, it's like you're wearing a life preserver or something. And it's got the double pails, but it's like an inch between where you can actually weave it. Some of them are like just 2 strips of pails across. I never understood. I guess maybe if you're just a few things, you know, but if you're actually trying to use it in an LBE, that's what I liked about this. The belt itself was like 50, 60 bucks. And they're drying up. Most of the Eagle Industry stuff, like the pouches, mag pouches, plentiful still. Same with any of the canteen stuff. Canteen versions, very plentiful, very cheap. I think these are the Coyote Brown, the USGIs. I think they're like 20 bucks, 2025 shipped. I had this one right here, the V2 Eagle Industries canteen / general purpose. I found that I liked the USGI version better, so I sold one, and I kept one for as an IFAC. What else I got here? This is like a general purpose pouch. It's a saw pouch. Got the Velocity Systems butt pack here. Probably the best molle butt pack out there. For the same size anyways, is like, you know, the Alice style. I use the Y suspenders. I had a deal back in the day. There was like 20 Y suspenders for like 20 bucks, and I bought it off eBay. That's why I had so many. But basically, I just took Y suspenders, and I ran 2 strips to the buckle. One's a actual Y that attaches to the buckles on the butt pack, and then one I ran towards the actual belt there, if you can see it. So that way it's got to support the belt and support the butt pack. Now the mag pouches,